downtown Vernon and noticed the bylaw officer was down here, and he was kind of following around the homeless people. So now just checking on what he's doing. It looks like he's picking up some needles or something here. And by the looks of it, just chasing away some homeless people. I had an interaction with him. He came up and asked me what I was doing, but my camera didn't quite kick on for some reason. Didn't quite get it ready in time. But I'm assuming that he's probably following these guys. Right there's Salvation Army. That's helps feed the less fortunate. They try hard for sure. It's too bad I didn't get that on film, because he wanted to know what I was doing. But I saw him pull in here, and I saw him walk over and start talking to the homeless and following the homeless around. So let's see what he's up to. Of course, when I brought out the camera, then he moved the vehicle. He was parked kind of just over there, and then when I brought out the camera, he moved it over to here. And I'm guessing that's he doesn't want anybody to see. He's chasing people away. Staples has got that sign, private property. Earlier when I was coming down here, we could see a parachuter that looked like he got a little bit off track. It looks like he was going to land. That's probably his plane right there. That is, if I can catch him on the camera there. Yeah, there he goes. Anyway, it looked like he was going to land in the army camp, and I don't think he's supposed to land there. Because he'd be coming from the airport, and the airport's quite a ways away, so it's kind of interesting. Let's see what happens. Everywhere these guys go, unless they get chased away. Where did the bylaw go? Hey, where'd the bylaw go? Did he, like, he went back through here?
Yes, where you going? Why?
Oh, I'm following him with the camera.
Good for you.
Yeah.
High five on that.
I do it to cops and all that stuff too. Everything.
Do you want to know something? They have literally made my life hell.
Yeah,
I
know.
want to I actually joined a committee and got somebody to appeal it for me.
Yeah.
Because the fat Asian lady took my fucking phone and fell out of my pocket. And
Yeah.
whipped it into the garbage bin.
Really?
And stood next to it and wouldn't let me get it.
Yeah.
It's like an $800 phone. Out of spite.
Is he back again?
Harsh, right? So is that the guy and the girl or the older one?
It's an older guy by himself.
Sure.
Yeah, I think he chased some of the other people away there.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get my camera on in time to catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed a couple guys and 2 girls that were over behind the Max.
You don't know what their rights are, you know that, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're
I know. He gave the guy a ticket. Well, what is that?
Ridiculous? For what?
That's the second time, I guess, that he'd got a ticket. It's kind of ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. You know
For loitering.
For having their bike on the sidewalk?
They were in behind the Max store.
Thank you. Hey, listen. This guy is following bylaw, documenting all this bullshit because they do illegal shit all the time.
Oh, cool! You should have been there when they fucking cut down the trees out in
cleared an area of public
it
property.
was in Coldstream, just past Kalamalka Lake.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a creek there that the landlocked salmon and the Kokanee Brook trout all spawn in.
Really?
I had a problem with my counterpart. We ended up having issues, and our place was behind. I ended up finding out, and I ended up homeless for 2 months out of it. I'm on stress leave right now and everything, and I do have a home now, but I had to spend 2 months in a tent, and I was the only person out there, and
Yep.
I was just past. You go just past the pub and everything, and it'll say no through road, and then there's a little turn right there. I forget the name of it, but I was down in off the little trail from that bridge there.
Yeah.
And that's where the fish spawned and everything, and nobody could see me. Nobody knew I was there. I didn't have a huge mess or anything. I was the only person there. I had my 2 cats there with me as well. They were one's a Turkish Angora, and one's just one of those white and red ones. I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning to chainsaws and then dropping trees into the creek and clearing a path from They cleared a path from where I stand now easily to where that truck is, and about 20 feet wide of trees that have been standing for like 30. They made a larger mess and destroyed more than I ever would have. I had 1 garbage bag. I was emptying my garbage all the time, and they pretty much told me to move into Paulson Park. And I explained to them that the reason that I was where I was is because I'm not like the people in Paulson Park. And I can't have my animals put at risk. I've already paid my last $250 to have them at the SPCA for a month instead of making them stay out there with me for 2 months. And they proceeded to keep on telling me that no, you have to go to Vernon to camp. I actually even offered the guy at what is the name of that campground out there beside the store? Dutchess. I offered the guy at Dutchess $700, and this would have been at the beginning, it would have been the last week of September, the beginning of October.
Yeah.
So when
because I did not actually get into the place that I'm at now until October 18th, I believe it was. And the fellow that actually rented me the place I'm in now, he received a phone call from a lady that had saw me but didn't know I was homeless down there. She didn't know I was staying down there and everything like that. And when she found out, she made a couple of phone calls, and a fellow came to me, and he actually let me move into a place 2 weeks in advance, and I've paid and everything like that, and he really did. His name's Simon, and he really did help me.
Oh, awesome.
Quite largely. And he didn't know me from a hole in the ground. He didn't know if I was like one of a lot of the people that are
Yep.
in that situation, you know, and
Brandon,
I do got him to thank for that.
he was victimized by his ex, and he ended up having a really bad.
Well, they don't need to know about all that.
No, I
kind
know,
of
but
stuff.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
No, that's
you were
good though,
working and
because
had like everything together too. Like that's bullshit.
Yeah, they-
not many
Working.
people know their
What
rights.
they were doing is
I know
wrong,
that.
and I've witnessed them
That's what they
literally.
do.
Yeah.
They're capitalizing.
Yeah,
It's
I've
illegal.
witnessed them. I understand that there is a problem, but that's something that a lot of people in this city don't realize
There's a
either.
problem because
I
there's
come
no
from bigger
solution.
cities,
There's no
and
solution there.
even this morning
It's
actually,
monopolized.
I was riding past those. It's an apartment building, and it's down by the Safeway there.
Yes.
It backs onto the.
Yeah, it's a 55 plus one.
Yeah, 55 plus one, I think it was.
I
Yeah.
can't remember what it's
And I was
called, but
passing
yes.
by there by myself. I was on my bike, which I don't have right now because my crank broke. And I
It's identical
proceeded
to that on
to
the
need to
bike.
fix my bike there. So I had locked my bike up, went home, got a couple of tools, came back on a skateboard, and there was garbage scattered all over the front of their complex there. Papers and plastic, like huge rolls of plastic. So I cleaned all that garbage up and I proceeded to fix my bike, and I was listening to a little bit of AC/DC, not really loud. But then a fellow came out of the building and he just told me that you're not allowed to be here. You're not allowed to be here. This is private. And I kind of looked at him and said, well, I'm sorry, sir. My bike just broke. I'm only going to be a minute. And he goes, no, I'm going to call the cops. And I go, well, you know what? If you want to be an asshole, go ahead, call the cops. I pay fucking taxes. I'm a blood donor. I'm an organ donor.
Yeah,
I'm not a.
what are you
I
gonna do?
mean, I'm not a
Exactly.
fucking.
They expect you to run away because,
And,
oh,
you
holy
know,
hell, the cops are coming. Well, you know
people
what? I've
have-
never done anything.
People have
Like,
just gone to
so
hatred.
call them.
I
We'll see
understand that
what
there is
first
a good
offense
number of
standing
people.
around's gonna get.
Yeah.
There is a good number of people that have chosen to go the wrong way about life, but there is also a large amount of these people that are on the
I
streets that
donated my
don't deserve
8,000
to be
pounds
there
of
and just don't
asparagus.
have the way out. You know, like
Yeah.
if Simon hadn't come along, who knows where I'd be at.
I know.
And
he
you know,
does-
like,
he does that.
I mean, I'm on stress leave and everything, and I'm on medication for agoraphobia, and well, you can tell I have a hard time speaking to people and everything like that. I'm trying to get better with it, and that's due to what happened to put me on stress leave.
Yeah.
But you know,
Oh, my mom had that, so I know what that's like.
I'd
It's
be
stressful.
in
Yeah.
a
Irrational,
lot different
yeah.
place if he hadn't have thought the way he did. Because everybody that saw me riding my bike, carrying all my stuff and everything, I had a lady actually. I was doing laundry at the laundromat, and this is how I heard that I was discovered and was run out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Was and I was the only person out there, like I said. They saw me doing laundry at the camping laundromat, so she followed me back to the general area where she figured I was, and then phoned me in.
Yeah.
And you know, I had caused nobody no harm.
And
done
yeah, you
nothing.
know what?
I didn't even have a camp. I had no campfire, nothing like that. I had a little Coleman stove. I had all of my belongings in storage, and I had literally brought my survival gear. Because I mean, I've worked my whole life. This is the longest I've never been working, and it's been
It's really
almost
hard to find
6 or 7
any
months.
fucking solution when they won't offer you one.
Yeah.
They want you in
Yeah.
the shelter. You walk through the shelter and you're $200 in their pocket. You know that?
Yeah, well, and you know,
I know
promoting
this.
people to
I've
go
looked
to
into
where
it.
you
It's not been true.
tell your tourists to hang out and camp
I'm
and everything like this. And like, I understand people have drug problems and things, but we really do have to realize that we got to put a handle on the way the government, the way that we're dealing with this, because we're now supplying people the means to be able to have a home and everything with it, right? So
Barely, because
that's
they also,
fine.
they
Everybody
also
needs to have a
totally
home, but we
allow
should be
you to do
supplying
drugs
them
and sleep all day,
treatment,
'cause
not
they don't
needles.
give you a wake-up call.
Yeah.
There's
It's the same
screw
price.
up.
And it doesn't matter what the government or anybody wants to say about the price, because we all know money was invented anyway. So I
Well, they
mean,
call us the homeless
Yeah.
industry, Brandon.
they can make
For
it
a
happen.
reason.
They really
Yep.
can.
They're calling us the homeless industry.
Nah,
They are, actually.
Kelowna's just as bad too. It's
I know,
an
but they're
epidemic
calling
thing.
it the homeless
And
industry for a reason. They're
It's
making a
more.
fucking
It's
ton
more
of money.
because people are being driven into the ground.
I
Even
know
like I'm
that,
telling you,
because
I
we're
worked,
the homeless
I worked
industry.
my ass off. I
They
make
get all of our
$20
belongings
and
for
50
free.
cents an hour.
They're not putting it.
It costs $6,000 It cost $6,000 to move here from Alberta. They took everything, every cent that we had,
Yeah.
and then you know, to try and survive, a person can't bring a family up on $3,000 a month,
No.
and this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that this inflation and all this stuff, like, people really got to start opening their eyes and realize that this isn't the way the world should be working at all.
I agree.
I mean, it's
Yep.
great that we have structure and everything like that, but this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
There's no reason that a person that works and they can't even support their fiance, their child, you know. I mean, you basically need $5,000 a month for 2 people and 1 kid.
Yeah.
That might mean you got a savings account. You're making less than that, you got no savings. You got nothing. Or your kid never goes to the movies and everything like that. You
Yep.
know?
No, for sure.
That's-
I totally
that's
agree
a
with you.
sad
I grew up in
realization.
this area,
Yeah.
and I know when I was a kid, you'd be lucky if you saw one homeless person.
I
Now
know.
they're
I
everywhere.
all
grew up in
used to
Salmon
take
Arm.
care of that.
As
because
far
it
as I'm
wasn't-
concerned, that
it wasn't
shows that
like
there's a
this. This
problem.
economy
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
crashed,
I
and
left
the reason
17
why
years
is 'cause
ago,
They hid
and,
the recession.
wow.
And they legalized weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
I
took
left-
all that
yeah.
from anyway. They know it.
I
They
left
don't
before
even-
any of this was here. Actually, I think
Yeah.
it stopped at
Actually,
Village Green.
Yeah, it was like
I lived in
Walmart
the
was
house
a
Yes.
that
swamp.
they
Well,
leveled
I
that was
actually
across
used
the
to
street
vacation
there.
there as
I
a
Yeah,
lived
child.
in
that
house
overpass, it wasn't there when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
How old are
no.
Me?
And
Yes.
the
In my
highway
40s.
was
Me
right
too,
beside.
I'm 44, right?
Yeah.
And I used to vacation here as a child, and my grandfather owned what's now Middleton.
Yeah.
The entire thing, 300 hectares,
Yeah.
was John Swicky's property, right?
Yeah.
Well, my grandmother sold it to the developers back in the 80s and moved to Surrey. But I used to come here every summer up until then, and there was nothing here
Yep.
as far as the eye could see. And
Yep.
there was no homeless problem back then whatsoever, but
No.
they've got it backwards. They want to like take away the middle class and make us all poor. And
Well,
they should be looking at
well,
getting rid
definitely-
of the poverty
that's the
because
problem. They're
just
creating-
discriminating, and they've made it like
Well,
they
they
made
could.
the gray area socially acceptable discrimination.
Not
basically.
that it'd be a great income, but they've talked about doing that. What do they call it? Basic income,
Yeah.
where everybody gets a certain amount of money, and then if you make a bunch of money above that, you pay that back.
Okay, fair enough.
But it eliminates EI, it eliminates
yeah,
social
it could
service,
be.
and it's $24,000 a
If
year,
you put
which is
in-
way better than welfare.
If
It
you put
is.
into
It
your,
is.
It's still
and
not
it's a little
great.
bit better than.
But it
even
saves the
disability by a
taxpayers
few-
money too,
yeah.
Yes, it does.
Oh, I
because
thought-
they don't have
yeah.
all these government
Not only
employees
that,
that
I
are
think
sitting
they should
around doing
stop
nothing.
funding all the shelters and programs
Yep.
because it's getting misdirected through them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my lightest
They
way
got-
of
they
putting
got a
it.
couple of bigger
However,
ones there
you know what
too,
they
though.
got through BC Housing for our 45 closet-sized units there? They got $90 million matched between BC Housing and BC provincial government.
Yeah.
They got $90 million, and they already had the numbers in. They knew that we had 200 plus needed homes to create with that.
The fact
Okay,
is
and
the
that's what it was
numbers
based
don't matter.
on.
And
Listen, but
we're
they
being
based their
blinded by
funding
it.
on it. They based their funding on it, and then they provide another shelter and 45 units that are totally regimented, institutionalized, and 100% under surveillance
Yeah.
and limited time only. So
Yeah.
what they did was they took that housing grant and turned it into more shelter money. It is definitely a glorified shelter.
How has
They
the
had them
world
all three
evolved?
programs.
Yeah.
All three programs under one roof. They had a low barrier shelter underneath the drug treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think the
And
treatment
that's
success
because
rate was there?
there's certain people that
Yeah.
want
Seriously.
more.
Yeah,
That's
No,
because
zero.
there's certain
they
people
don't
that
want
want
us
more.
to get better. They
And
don't
it's sad.
want to help us. They want us to remain in the statistics.
Oh, no,
getting that
it's worse.
predicted 30-day in advance check that we are getting now that's paying for that methadone prescription or whatever that they know they can bank on because it's $500 for every new prescription and more is better. And if they know it's coming in advance, they can do their numbers in advance. They know what they've got coming to them.
Yeah.
They don't want to change that. It makes it so easy for them.
Well,
We've
it keeps
become
everybody
what's
blinded
paying,
from the
well,
issues.
It's paying their fucking bills.
We're
It's
all too
paying
busy
their
being
wages.
pitted against
They're all
each other by
driving those
money,
fancy
race,
vehicles saying
everything,
it's
instead
profit,
of
no
dealing with the real world issues. If
Yeah.
it costs us more money to create
not
fuel
helping
than
us.
it did 50 years ago, then how the
They
hell
don't
have
want
we
us to
advanced
find
at
out how
all?
to fix that either.
Something's
They
wrong.
figured it out already. The hydrogen motors.
You know?
Have you not been
Yeah.
watching the freaking amazing...
Well, they don't want it,
They
any
don't
of it
want
fixed.
it fixed.
No.
They do not. Because
It's all
they
controlled
know,
by a few elites,
that's
like
right,
the
and they know what it's
Rothschilds and
bringing
stuff
in.
like that.
Well, they know what it's
Yeah.
bringing in, and
Well,
that
they-
methadone program is funding every single program
they
we've
know
got
that they've
right
sucked
now.
the lifeblood
Every
out of the
single
planet,
one.
and they know that
Yeah.
we're
And
all
it's,
going to have a
it's
real
where,
big
like where the
shock.
donations are coming from and being fed through. But the bottom line is this: it's not creating anything that's changed a damn thing.
Yeah.
And if they took away
so
the
they can live and we
general
die.
like
It's
discrimination
so
that
they
was
can live and
happening
we die,
against us
basically.
because of our condition in the society, or where we were forced to go to get help,
Yeah.
which is what brings us into the public eye, they would actually have a solution, which
Without
would be housing.
millions, you
But
won't-
all you do to change that is put it into regular housing that already exists as a fund that makes it equal for, like, what do you call it, based on your income, an income controlled rental amount, like
Yeah.
old folks homes do, right?
Yeah.
So based on how much you have coming in,
Yeah.
that's what you pay for rent. So
Well,
if you
that's
have
simple,
375 coming in for rent, it changes none of the numbers. The funding is in addition to
$32,000.
that, and that gives them regular housing.
Yeah.
Why not put the $90 million to that so that the people actually get the peace of mind and freedom to not feel like pieces of shit, you know, that everybody tells them, and make sure they know they are constantly, because they're paying the same amount based on the table that the government put in place.
Yeah.
Fix it.
Well, and
They don't
this-
want to.
here's
And I'm
another thing
going
they
I'm
don't
going
look at.
before the board because I'm going to
32
become one of the members of that committee that sits for every single sitting with the Chamber of Commerce and all the housing issues.
Yeah.
I'm
What is
gonna go.
poverty in Canada? What is the level? What is the money poverty in Canada?
It's we're so far
32,000.
below the
No, no.
poverty level that
30.
it's disgusting.
Yeah, but here's
Yeah.
the fact.
I know.
32,000
That's where you
is
pay
the
peak
poverty
income.
level
I
of
know,
Canada.
I know, low income.
So how do you
So to speak.
justify
They
paying
don't.
somebody less than $18 an hour?
don't.
If
They
you are
don't.
making
That's
less
right.
than $18,
Inflation has not
$19
kept
an
up.
hour, you
That's
can't
why the
even
grant has
hit
to cover
poverty.
other stuff instead.
Now, I made
It's not working. And then they don't
$1,200
have to
over
change the
poverty
fucking
level
thing on paper.
last
Not a
year.
thing. They can't even complain about it.
They charged me
Because it's not
$10,000 for it. I
Yeah.
made just around $33,000. I had a
That's
fee on say, and I had a
$100,
12-year-old that was
yeah,
living
exactly,
with us to
dependent.
support.
So there
And
it
they
goes,
charged me
down
an
below
extra
the- below.
$10,000 in taxes.
Crazy,
Yep.
right?
Like, what is that? Like, and they can say whatever they want to say, but that's the fact. If you don't want poverty in Canada, you got to raise minimum wage to
Exactly,
poverty
but
level.
they won't.
And
They won't.
They
No.
won't, and they're not raising up our payments to equal, even close to
and that's
poverty
the bigger
line.
picture that people got
Okay,
to
like
realize.
I would like
is
to
that we're
see
being
them
hung
live
out
on
to
20
dry,
bucks a
man.
day, including rent. Good fucking luck.
Everybody.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's how they make desperate people.
Everybody's being hung
Yep.
out to
Because
dry
people that
because
have
you're
nothing
real
left
shit.
don't give a fuck anymore.
And there's
And
only
that's
going to be
the
a
most
few.
dangerous person in the world. Push them into a corner. You'll be surprised because they've got stuff up their sleeves. They're not for 1 second going to lay down and die. And if people think they're going to, they're making an ugly, ugly beast.
Yeah.
And those bylaw are the problem epitomized. It's exactly
But
what's
that's
wrong.
all right.
They
Yeah.
need to not do
They're not
that.
going to stop.
Have you heard about what they're thinking about doing, where they're going to take away the ability to stay in the Polson Park?
Yeah, you know what? What
And
are
they
gonna
want to
do
put
then?
it so that you go to City Hall.
It's not even.
So wrong.
Oh,
See,
kind of
a
in the
long,
City
long
Hall.
time ago,
You know what?
I said we
We
should
should
all
all-
camp on the lawn at City Hall.
Yeah.
Because
No,
it might give them a better, clearer impression of what's going on, because they don't get it, and we didn't choose it. I used to work for Interior Health.
And
Okay, I did everything in my power to keep that. I went to college. I worked my ass off.
Yep.
68 days straight, ran a business and a regular job. And then I sold my business to my sister-in-law, who's now a care aide and works for Interior Health. She followed exactly in my footsteps. My daughter was the principal's choice 2016, graduated with honors. She's doing everything that she wrote down in her essay. The dean of the college is her
Before
spokesperson.
she gets out, she'll
No,
never
she's
have
not.
a kid.
She's so happy. She's in
Yeah.
West Van, and she lives doing whatever she wants, smiling and manifesting success. I'm serious. And she says that
she
you're like
doesn't-
equally responsible for your happiness as unhappiness. And she goes out of the country every single year since she graduated for a big long vacation and
And she
comes back
doesn't
and
have
picks up her
student
work.
loans or anything?
Nothing at all. She's
Well,
budgeted
that
it
is-
all by
that is
herself.
very-
And she had
that's
a
good.
partial, what do you call it? Something or other agreement, so that I didn't lose my custody of her.
That's rare. That's
But
very rare.
She kept on going. I know, but you know what she did to do that? She followed the models that are there. So that means that the opportunities to do well are there. You just need to access them, and people are afraid and not knowing what that is exactly, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
So you know what? It needs to be told. And my ex died of an overdose, and he woke up out of a coma from a medical situation that pretty much made history. Like, he's the one only person in that position that ever lived through an accident of that caliber. So
Wow.
just based on his injuries alone, his mother gained power of attorney over his shit and got all of his money. And pretty much what he was left with was a shell of his former life. He felt like a facsimile of himself, looked like and sounded like himself, but wasn't.
Yeah.
He managed 43 properties in Vernon. He was an actor. He was a poet. He was publishing poetry. He got 2 out of 3 payments on a poetry book that he wrote when he was in his 20s. And he passed away at 34 of a drug overdose somewhere. And I wasn't here. And that doesn't matter because we were engaged for 9 days and he died, and it like changed my life. Like, I remember thinking, I'm never going to be the same because everything just divided into before and after Kyle died.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to be a household name, and I'm going to build a website that is based on all of the experiences, and it's going to have his autobiography, his poetry book, and his movie for funding. And it's also going to have a blog for support against people that have been discriminated on based on either their illnesses mentally or injuries that they've succumbed to. Like, he's not the only person I know that woke up in a
Yeah.
But you know what? It was embarrassing to him to the point that he used alone because of it. He was terrified. He was terrified of what he'd become and what everybody would think because he was raised well and he was religious and he was mortified. He said that if he would have known what his life was going to be like, he would have chose to die in that accident instead of lived through it, even though he had, because what he'd basically been left with was a shell of himself and sentenced to life in squalor.
Yeah.
In his exact words. He had a really high IQ and he was buying a business, like a sister business, to go with his property management, and he was his boss's favorite, and he was making a lot of money and doing very well. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't himself, and he was like on disability for life, you know, and his mother wouldn't explain nothing. Nobody would. Every time he inquired about
you bet.
it,
Thanks
it
for
basically got to the
chatting.
point where they said, like, something about power of attorney, and he ended up coming back to me and said, what does it mean when they keep asking me about power of attorney? And I said, I don't know, but they wouldn't even give him his own medical records. And
Yeah.
that she must have done something to cover it up for him in a way. Excuse my language. But seriously.
Well, thank you
he
for
disappeared.
your time.
Yeah, I'm
And,
going to make that website work though.
do.
I'm going to accept
Yeah.
donations, and I'm going to put them toward that. I'm not going to hide under no profit.
Yep.
I'm going to put it toward the housing ideas, and I'm going to keep going to
You
all
can
the,
start with Facebook, which won't cost you anything.
Not
you
at
can
all,
create a
I know.
Facebook.
But I'm going
and
to
you
build
can
it
also
with
do
somebody
YouTube.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I'm going to go to college again if I have to. I paid all my student loans when I
Yep.
sold my property, and his death resulted on basically in my depression that led to me being where I'm at right now.
Yep.
And that's what happens when you don't decide things. People decide them for you, and then you find you don't have anything left to decide from. It's like your options get less.
Yep.
And I don't have family around or anybody to help me. But you know what? I woke up one morning with that idea, and I knew that it was going to be not only better, but he was going to get his wish and become a household name. Because I've got a copy of his movie, and I'm going to go through properly designing it so that it does actually help people. And whatever they want to apply for individually is going to be open as well. And I'm going to keep a meter of how much funding comes in. And I'm going to thank all the businesses and individuals that contributed, and make sure that the people that are discriminating, if it's valid, get taken through the proper courses to make registered proper complaints at that offices, because they don't know or have the options to. I'm going to help them. And I'm going to allow them to blog and support each other live on the blog as well.
Yep.
And it's going to have several departments, but I think it's going to be a work in progress that I'm going to be starting really soon, because I'm not working right now and I have terrible arthritis, so I've actually achieved the disability. At least now I can afford to get something on my own. I just have to get some time and get that together, because I know somebody that graduated top 3 of her class too. So we're going to design that website. It's going to be something incredible, and I can't wait to do it. And it's going to be in his honor. It's going to be the Kyle Anthony Inc. Foundation, because that was his fake business card where he was the item that was going to be offered, and I was like laughing at him because he was being silly to make me laugh. Right? He was hilarious, and I really, really miss him, and I want him to be proud.